Alrighty, good afternoon. I'm as close to being on time as I ever get. I am happy, I'm hot, been a little sweaty, but I like to welcome everybody. This is Chroma-Craft's Saturday specials. I think this is the second or third one that we have done now. You see I got that sweat thing going on. It's really humid down here in South Georgia today, but that's okay, we'll deal with it. I'm just happy to be here, and as folks come in, I hope that they're happy to be here too. We got some great deals for you today on our Saturday special. Today we are featuring resin casting, wood stabilizing products. We got all kinds of goodies. We're going to do a little bit of turn-in on some resin pieces that we've got here. All the good fun things. It's a great hobby. It's a great addition or expansion, if you will, to your wood turning, to start turning resin. And if you haven't done it once you start, it's really exciting. And as we go out through the day, we're here for 2 hours today, and this is a special, obviously. And the code that you see up on top there, cast, that gets you 10% off of everything for the next 2 hours in the Chroma-Craft website, in the store at shop.spirocraft.com. Everything in the store is 10% off for the next 2 hours. And then I've got special packages on the different items we have here: vacuum chambers, vacuum pumps, pressure pots, resin, casting resin, stabilizing resin. We got all kinds of goodies out here today. So we're just going to take a poke around here. I'm kind of watching to see how folks come in. I've got a little monitor down here where I can see the chat. So if you have questions today, do not hesitate to pop them into the chat boxes or the comment columns. This is on YouTube and Facebook, on several Facebook pages. And I'm going to go ahead and take my watch off now. Not that I'm going to turn a whole lot, but it's got a metallic band and it tends to stick to everything and kind of makes it a little difficult. I hope everybody's doing well. John Strawson, nice to see you stop by. It's a new name to me. I hope you enjoy the afternoon. Again, if you have kind of different questions about anything, do not hesitate to put it in your comment columns and ask me. And if you happen to hear a fan over here, even though I'm in a shop with the AC running, it's still super humid down here, and there's a little fan over here, so I hope you don't mind if you pick that fan noise up. Let me know if it's too horrible. I don't think it comes through the mic with the cutoffs in the electronics. So let's see what all we got going here. Well, let's start with, I don't have a real plan. I'm just getting everything set up. Resin casting. So, what is resin casting? What's it all about? Well, with the resin casting, in a resin, an epoxy resin, and we work with the Chroma-Craft folks who are the next town over in Brooklet, Georgia. Make a great product. They make an epoxy resin. And it's a two-part epoxy resin. It's easy to work with. It has a long open time. It's not a urethane resin. Urethane resins have a really fast open time. They set up in 15-20 minutes. This resin has a 2-hour open time, 2 hours to work with it. So you can do a lot of different things in 2 hours depending on what you want to do. A lot of fun. It's easy to mix. It's by volume. It's not by weight, so you don't need a scale. It's just 2 to 1 straight up. 2 parts resin, 1 part hardener. You're good to go. It works really well. It's not, and the reason I really like it, especially here in South Georgia, it is not susceptible to the humidity that like the urethanes can be. So in the resin casting, what can we do? Well, I've been working on a bunch of stuff, and so I've got all these little blanks I just recently made, and this is. And I have these on for a special reason, and I'm going to change this camera over here real quick so you can see from the overhead. This is a combination of stabilized wood and then cast into resin. It's referred to as a hybrid casting. And so this encompasses everything that we are going to be talking about today, and working with all the different products all came from this process, or this process came from all these products. And I actually have, and I'm going to set these down over here. I have a little piece that we'll go ahead and turn today. This is the extent of my turner, and I'm not going to get crazy. This will be a Keyring Kit, one of the Chroma-Craft Keyring Kits that we have, and I've got all the components here. and I'll show you all about that. Here are some pieces that I have made from the resin casting world. This again is a hybrid. You can't see much of the burl, but I'm going to show you this in the overhead. This was a really fun piece. I got the camera hopefully where that's looking pretty well in focus from here. And this is a piece of this burl. Oh, wrong direction, I'm sorry. Burl wood that was stabilized, and then the Chroma-Craft resin and the resin tints, and then some new iridescent film that we're working with that we'll be bringing out pretty soon. And I turned this into the shape of an egg. And this is a really neat project to make, and it doesn't take a lot. It's not fancy. You don't need a lot of fancy molds. This was cast in a cup from a diner or Dunkin' Donuts. My wife brings me all her Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee cups, and they're the perfect mold for resin casting. They're free. They have a built-in tenon on them, and so you don't have to use a lot. Another one. Here's another egg. I brought these little samples out, and it's got a little base to it that I made, and this has got a process that I've been working on with where the base is fixed with the bolt system. Something that's kind of new. Same block of resin, same batch of resin. I mixed it all up and I poured it into 2 different molds that day. All right. And also, while I'm here, oops, excuse my arm. All these things, bottle stoppers, all the same kind of principle. And we'll be showing you all the different parts here today. I do not have the bottle stopper components themselves, the silver stopper part here. I do not have those in the website yet. But I do have the brass bushing, or the brass insert. Show you back over here again. Brass insert is in there to make that happen. We do have the bottle stoppers in stock. It's just that I haven't had time to get around to it. Dick Gerard, how you doing, buddy? I'm out here sweating myself to death today, but I'm having fun. I hope you're doing well, Dick. I hope all the stuff you've been working through is coming together for you. I know you love resin. I know you've got one of the pressure pots. I'm going to put this somewhere where I don't knock it over. I'm going to put it right down here for now. So resin, pressure pots. Now my pressure pot is back here. We feature and I'm going to pull up the top of it. I just don't have enough room in here for everything. So I'm going to set that right here. Let's see if I set that right there. That's the top of the pressure pot. And get my hose out of the way. This is the one that I work with every day over in the other shop. Okay, this is the California Air 5-gallon pressure pot. And I'm going to pull up the tank here, or the rest of it. Again, yeah, this is a big heavy guy. This thing is fantastic. It's got wheels on it. It's kind of noisy. It's really heavy. They're 47 pounds when they ship. Great heavy-duty clamps for it. Sorry for the banging there. They've been super popular. I got an idea here. We were just talking how one of these days I'm going to get some more space. I'm going to flip to the overhead and I'll show you some of the components that come on it. So it comes, the hose is my addition on my own. It comes with all the fittings already on it that you see here. The regulator, the valves, and I'll turn this. This is the best way I can think of to show you this up close. So I added the quick connect here, and I added the hose here. The valves are already part of it. The regulator is already part of it. The pressure gauge. This is a 70 psi operating pressure pot. Maximum pressure 80 pounds, 70 pounds for operating. Comes with it, with the gauge, comes with the relief valve. Trying to give you a good, oh, I know it's kind of clunky. Closer shots. There's the pressure relief valve. It comes set, this is pressure relief valve right here. That comes set at 70 pounds and it starts to release when you hit that. Okay. Go back to here. Everybody in the country is out of these. We have 6 of them. And that's all we have. People have been buying them here recently. I sold 2 of them in a couple hours last week, one day. So they're super popular. They work fantastically, really, really well. And with the resin casting, where the pressure pot comes into play, with these resins, when we're making a piece, say of this nature, where we're combining wood and resin together, one of the things that is our enemy we have to fight all the time is air bubbles. And with the air bubbles, even with a long open time, since we're going to have it in a mold, the air bubbles will not completely rise to the surface and come out of the resin. So we take our molded piece, we put it into the pressure pot, we apply the 70 pounds of pressure, it compresses the air bubbles that are left over down into nothing, to where they're gone. And that's the beauty of the pressure pot. And that's the difference between a pressure pot and a vacuum chamber. When I'm out on the road at the woodworking shows, and we've got the Chroma-Craft booth up, I answer that question 100 times a day. What's the difference between the vacuum chamber and the pressure pot? Do I need one or the other, or do I need both? And the question always, or the answer always is, it just depends. If you want to just do casting and you're not going to be stabilizing wood, you do not need a vacuum chamber. If you want to stabilize wood, which we'll talk about some more as we go here, then you do need a vacuum chamber. Now, a vacuum chamber can be handy, and it can be used to remove air bubbles from a resin once you've mixed it or before you've mixed it. As we add additives, when we add things like a resin tint, which I've got down here, when we add colors or we add glitters, and I've got a bunch of stuff back here that I'll show you over the next couple hours. When we add those components to the resin and we stir it, we're adding air into the resin. So we can degas a resin before we mix the A and the B components. With a slow cure resin with a long open time like this Chroma-Craft epoxy, we can actually mix A and B together and we can degas it. We can pull some of those bubbles out. But you don't want it to have it under vacuum as it starts to set up, because it will set up as it pulls bubbles to the top, and you'll have foam or bubbles that are made right there as they're being pulled out. So you want to get it into a pressure pot. So it's the wood and the other components that bring air into our resin that give us the trouble. So how do we help alleviate some of the air, especially if we're doing a hybrid cast with the wood? We stabilize the wood. Now, if you're not familiar with what stabilizing is, well, I just happen to have brought a couple of really scrappy pieces over that I just cooked in the oven next door, so I can show you and explain that. So where'd I put them? Here we go. And I hope everybody's starting to get dialed in. Let me know if the sound is okay. I'm assuming it is, because nobody's telling me it's not. I'm going to jump over here real quick. I'm going to let you look at this wonderful chunk of wood right here for just a minute. I just want to make sure that everything over on the computers looks good and everything is looking fine. Let's see, because I can't see from my other feed who's here. All right, Jerry Mesmer's here. Good afternoon, Jerry. Let me scroll back up here, see who I know. Lan Brady, nice to see you. Richard Thiel, nice to see you. Appreciate you coming in. I'm assuming that everything is functioning because nobody's screaming at me very much. I'm also, while I'm over here out of the camera, I'm going to sneak a quick sip of water. All right. Because it is hot and nasty. So while I'm still got the camera in the overhead, here's just a piece of ratty old, this is a cutoff, and I've got a plan for this. This is a ratty piece of maple, and this was literally laying out in the rain the last few days. Well, it's been laying out for a long time. And I just dried this in my oven at 200 degrees. And so what we would do now is we would take this piece and we would put it into a vacuum chamber with the stabilizing resin. The stabilizing resin we have and the vacuum chambers we have are from Best Value Vacs. Give you a logo shot. Let me see if I can do this so you can see the labels. They're out of Illinois. There we go. And this is a wood stabilizing resin. Completely different animal than the casting resin. The wood stabilizing resin is a heat cure resin. I'll go back up here to the front. It's a heat cure resin. So it has already been activated when we get it from Best Value Vacs. They've actually kind of changed their name to BVV, but it used to be called Best Value Vax. So it's a 2-component resin that's got this particular brand has a 3-year shelf life. This is actually made in the UK. This is not made in the US. It is a United Kingdom product. Stored below 85 degrees, it has a 3-year shelf life, a little bit different than some of the other popular stabilizing resins that are out there that only have a year shelf life, give or take. And mine has been over there next door. I just keep adding to the pot, and it's been going for over a year without ever going back in the jug. But the way the stabilizing resin works is once we soak our piece, and I'll explain that some more, the stabilizing resin needs heat to cure. So we're going to take our piece after we've stabilized it, we're going to put it in an oven, and we're going to heat it to 190 to 200 degrees, and we're going to basically cook it till that resin gets to that temperature. And once it gets to that temperature of 190 to 200 degrees, it cures. It won't cure without that heat, but once it does, it is rock hard. I mean, literally, it's very, very hard. It works great. So what that does, when we put it in this vacuum chamber, and this is the vacuum pump, and I'm going to move a few things around here. I've got 2 kinds of vacuum chambers sitting here today. Now this one might look a little funny because I put paper in it, because I'm in a chroma key green screen behind me, and reflections made this look all green. So this is a PVC, and the pen turners tend to like this style. And we have this in the 12-inch and a 24-inch that I didn't bring in. It comes with your fittings, your vacuum gauge on the top. You put long, thin pieces in here. And with vacuum work and stabilizing, you want to be able to see the resin. People say, well, can't I put vacuum to a pressure pot? Well, technically you can, but you can't see the resin. Why is that important? Because when we pull vacuum on the resin, all the air that's in this piece of wood is being pulled out by the vacuum, and it makes the resin bubble. Now, if the resin bubbles to the point where it gets to the valve, the inlet, and in this case the inlet's on the side over here, if it gets to that point and it sucks it into the hose, it sucks it then into your vacuum pump, and it can ruin your vacuum pump. So that's why vacuum chambers are clear or have a clear lid, so that you can see what's going on. So this piece, I'll just kind of stick it in this one. I'm going to move these around. Again, space is a commodity around here. These are the Best Value Vacs. They call them glass vacs. They actually have a glass top, stainless steel or aluminum tanks. We have a 2, a 3, and a 5-gallon that we stock in these. They come with the lid, with the seal, with the vacuum hose that's as part of it. It's a great vacuum hose. And then you have your pot, your glass lid. This glass will not bend, will not bow, will not move under the vacuum. We would put, and I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to switch to, hey, my dad made it. Good to see you, Dad. Hope you're doing well up there in North Georgia. Let's go overhead here. So we would drop this piece down into our pot. We would then take, and I've got another gallon of resin over here. I'm not going to pour resin today, but I would take, and this is kind of, you understand it, we would take and pour our resin in there. It's a mess in this place. And we would want to cover the wood, okay? Now in this case, this piece of wood is a little bit taller. They are right at the tip. So I need to cut these down a little bit more or put them in a taller pot. This is a 2-gallon pot, and again, there's a 3-gallon and a 5-gallon. These are going to get cut up into little teeny pieces, but we would fill this up until it was covering all the wood. And then we would put our lid on, we'd turn on our vacuum pump, and we would watch the air bubbles start to pull out, right? Now, you might be wondering, well, let me see here, back to here. What are these valves here for? Well, as it starts to bubble, and I'm going to take this piece of wood out of here. As it starts to bubble and you're watching through the lid, we have our lid back in place. I'm working on the cooking show thing here. We're looking down inside, and when we see the bubbles start to get close to our outlet, we just go ahead and open the valve that would be closed like that. And that one would be open with the hose hooked to it. We would open this valve and bleed the vacuum off, and that would let the foam go back down. So when we open the valve, the foam goes back down and it gets away from there. And then we close the valve back up and it pulls the vacuum again. And we just have to bleed that vacuum a number of times until it has pulled the initial mass of air out. And it happens pretty quick. It doesn't take super long to get that big foaminess out of there. And then you can let your vacuum pump just keep working. Now, the question is, how do you know when it's done, or how long do you let it pull a vacuum? Well, the answer is until it doesn't bubble anymore. Now, the next question, of course, is, well, how long is that? It depends on the piece of wood. If you have a big square, say 4x4 block or blank of wood, it's going to take a long time to get the air out of all the way inside to the outside of that thing. If you have small pieces of wood like this, and this guy, I know I'm going to switch back over here because I can't wait to do what I'm going to do with these. See this nasty old piece of wood? The bugs have been eating it and all that stuff. I'm in heaven right here. With a small, thin piece of wood like this is not very big. And I'm going to cut it up smaller on the bandsaw before I actually stabilize them. It won't take very long for that air to come out of this. And then you can let it soak. So once it stops bubbling, you can let it soak for days and then leave it in there however long you want. And I'll run it until it stops bubbling, let it soak for a few days, come back, fire the vacuum back up, make sure it doesn't bubble anymore. If it does, I'll let it bubble until it stops again. And you just let it soak until it's good and saturated. Then you can go ahead and pop it over in the oven. So nasty old wood like this, wood that's too soft, too punky to turn, stabilizing is a great way to be able to utilize that wood. Now, I'm actually out here outside my studio. I am aging, kind of like a steak. Some would say I'm rotting, which is actually true. But I'm aging a whole bunch of wood just for this purpose. Now, these pieces of wood, what's going to happen? I'm going to cut these all up into little teeny pieces, and I'm going to stabilize them, and then I'm going to cast them into the resin to become another hybrid cast. So I'll have all the spalting colors and interesting patterns there. The resin will fill the voids in the holes. So it's a great use. This is scraps at the moment, right? This normally goes into the burn pile, and I'm glad my dad is here. Hey, Bonnie, did you get your pot? Did it make it yet? I didn't check the tracking. Bonnie, if you guys, any of you see Bonnie in she's on the Facebook page. She just got a California Air pot from us last week. I'm hoping it arrived. This is a great way. And like I say, this will make my dad happy to use all those scraps. You don't waste a thing. And it makes really, really pretty pieces. It's like if I take this guy, for instance, and I'm going to pop back over to the overhead, and I'm going to pull this up real close to the camera. This is actually just the shavings, the chips from turning a bowl. Okay, so I took those chips, dried them in the oven. Actually, first I dyed these. You can't see the color all that much, but I dyed the chips with a Chroma-Craft alcohol-based dye, and then I dried them in the oven at 200 degrees, make sure they're perfectly dry. Then I dropped them in the stabilizing resin because all those little chips of wood were going to have air all in them. So I dropped them in the stabilizing resin, pulled the vacuum on them, pulled all the air out, and then I cast it in the resin and put it in the pressure pot. So I went through the entire process with this little guy, and there was a bunch of pieces came out of that. So it's a fantastic way to utilize pieces of wood that you couldn't otherwise turn. Or if you're going to be casting your blank or your wood into a resin blank and you want to have a hybrid blank. So to give you an idea, and I'm using this nice new pot. I promise I'll clean the lid off before I ship it to you. This burl that I have right here, this is a root burl from my pecan tree out right here in the backyard. And I picked a bunch of them up and I stabilized them. First I dried them, and then I dropped them in the vacuum chamber and I stabilized them. And then I cut them up, and I didn't cut them up, I cast them in a mold with the Chroma-Craft resin to make these blanks. And so I have a hybrid piece, and I removed all the air by using the stabilizing system out of the wood. Then I cast it, then I pressurized it in the pressure pot. And that's what I'm now making all the pieces out of, all these different pieces. So today we've got all these goodies. And I have to forget that, or sometimes I have to remember, I forget, that I'm here to offer you great deals from Chroma-Craft. And I have specials. So now that we're about, what are we, 20 minutes, about 30 minutes in here. Looks like there's a number of people around. So these specials that I got myself a cheat sheet. I'm finally getting to where I learned. So apologize for the paper, but like I only got so many monitors. During these 2 hours, or now an hour and a half between now and 3 o'clock, all these different items are on sale in the store with the code of CAST, C-A-S-T, which gives you a 10% discount. Now, if you purchase anything that I'm about to read off of my list here in the next hour and a half now up until 3 o'clock, here's some of the specials that aren't written. You won't see them anywhere. It's just going to happen when it shows up like Christmas in the box behind you. If you get a 1.5 gallon kit of the Chroma-Craft resin, you will get a 3-pack. This is a 6-pack. You will get a 3-pack of resin tints. Now I have the resin tints in individuals back here. I've got like 15 colors. I had this all planned out, you know. So I have all the different, there's 15 colors of resin tint. Okay, get that straight. So I will include red, blue, and yellow, a basic to get you started. Addition to the resin. So if you get the resin kit, the resin is normally the $124.80. Today it's on sale. It's going to be $112.32, and the 3-pack of resin is worth $18.75. That's just because we like you guys that much. Do I sound like QVC? The pressure pot, the California Air 5-gallon pressure pot, normally it's $269 here at Chroma-Craft. Today with the discount, it's $242. If you pick one of those up, and there's only 6 left, I got to read this from Bonnie. It's hard. I had to work all day knowing it's arriving that day. Oh, you're okay. Gotcha. If you get the 5-gallon pressure pot, normally $269, it's going to be $242 today. And I'll include a 1.5 pint kit. This is a quart kit. We also have a pint. We have pints, quarts, and gallons of the resin. I'll include a pint kit. 1.5 pint kit with the pressure pot, and that's the $29 value right there. If you get a pressure pot and a gallon of resin today, so the packages, you notice how this theme here, they keep getting better. You get a 6-pack, the 6-pack here of resin tint. The resin tint's $33.50. If you get a pressure pot and a vacuum chamber, any one of them, I don't have them all out here. Again, we have 2, 3, and 5 gallon in the stainless steel glass vac style, and 12-inch and 24-inch in the tall PVC cylindrical type. So if you get a pressure pot and a vacuum chamber, you'll get a 6-pack of resin tint and a pint of resin, which is $63. Nice little bonus right there. Now, if you're just getting started, you don't have any of this stuff, you really want to get in, you want to go ahead and get set up with the third package, or the third little value-added package I have today. If you get a pressure pot, a vacuum chamber, and a pressure pump, or a vacuum pump, okay, that gives you everything you need. You'd have to supply your own compressor for your pot, for your pressure pot. I'll kick in a 6-pack of resin, a 6-pack of resin tint, a 6-pack of pearl powders, the pearlescent powders, which I haven't shown you yet, and a 1.5 quart kit of resin, right? So pressure pot, vacuum chamber, vacuum pump, get you quarter resin, resin tint, and pearl powder. Now, what's the pearl powder? Well, I've got those back here too. And that's my glitters, I think. No, here's my pearls. I'll just kind of bring them up here. Like I said, I'm just having to make the best of the room I've got. The pearl powders are a mica. They go by a lot of names: pearl powders, Pearlex, Pearltex, Pearlescent Powders from Chroma-Craft. They're a mica powder. I'm going to jump into the overhead, open the lid up. Hope the fan doesn't blow all this away. They're very, very fine powders, and we have them in pearl, and we have them in iridescent. We've got about 16, 18 colors of these as well. Okay, and that's the overhead, sorry. So we got lots of colors. It's all on the website. Again, shop.spiracraft.com is the website, if you didn't know. And I don't have it posted up on the screen. So that gets you everything you need to get started. You get a pressure pot, a vacuum chamber, a vacuum pump, a starter batch of resin tint, and pearl powders. So you're good to go. You could make all kinds of cool things if you really wanted to get started. Now, what would all that cost you? Where's my other cheat sheet? I didn't write it all. I didn't put it all down. I didn't put that in my notes, so I didn't do the math on that one. But the extras would be the $115 value. I just don't know how much all the components would be together. So also, while I'm looking at my list here, it reminds me, and one other thing I want to talk about in this hour and a half, since everything in the Spiracraft shop is 10% off today until 3 o'clock. How are you going to turn this? Once you've cast your resin pieces, you made your really cool stuff, you need to turn it, right? Well, how do we do it? What do we recommend? We recommend using the EasyWood tools, replaceable carbide cutter tools. Okay? Now, the deal today is, in the store, you'll find the tools individually, and we also have 3 tool sets. In the micro, I'm trying to hold on to too many things here all at once. You watch me, I'll see what I can drop. I knew I couldn't do it. The micros are the little guys. And I'm going to go to the overhead camera. Even though it's zoomed out real far, I want you to see the difference here. These are the little micros. Going to lay those there. The one next to it here, these are the mid-size. So you get an idea. And I'm not going to change that camera. All right. So there's the micros, the mid-size, the fulls. They're all available in sets. If you pick up any set of the EasyWood tools today, I will include a negative rake cutter for turning your resin. Now, what does that mean if this is new to you? Well, the standard cutter on a tool is flat on the top. Let me find one here to show you. I'll show you the difference. This will be good because I got the camera zoomed in on the overhead. So these are the same. They'll be the same 2 cutters. The negative rake cutter is fantastic for the resin, and I'm going to change this. I'm going to hope you can see. Obviously, this is not a practiced part of the event here, if you will. If I can get these up close enough to the camera, I think you might be able to see that. I'm going to try. Hang with me here. The same 2 round cutters. You'll notice the one here on the left has a bevel on the top. The one on the right is flat. This guy here is perfectly flat. This one has what's referred to as a negative rake. It makes cutting and turning the resin really easy. Okay, so they don't come typically with the cutter, with the negative rake cutter. They come with the standard cutter. So if you buy any of the set, whether it's micro, mini, these are the minis, there's the micros, these are the minis, these are the mids. Any of the sets, any set of 3, while we're out here today, I will include an additional cutter for each one so that you have one for the round one for the diamond, one for the square. So you'll get a cutter like so, negative rake cutters, fresh, ready to roll. So that way you can turn your wood and you can turn your resin with your Easy Wood tools. They really are the easiest way to turn the resin. Okay. Looking at my cheat sheet here, because I don't have anything else up on the walls. I don't have room for anything else up on the walls here. That's the offer we have going with the tools, and the tools again are 10% off. It's an unadvertised special. You won't see it. You won't see it written anywhere. If you're here and you hear it, this is good. Like I say, as long as I'm here till 3 o'clock. And also, we have in stock, which a lot of places don't right now. We have some of the Easy Wood Tools Easy Chuck. Now, right now, Easy Wood Tools themselves are currently out of stock on the chuck, but we happen to have 4 of them in-house. We have one 1x8 for a 1-inch spindle, and we have 3 1 1/4. Okay, these are also 10% off, which is a great savings because they're $4.29 regularly, and now they're $3.86 today for the next hour and a half, and that'll get you into a brand new, ready to roll Easy Wood chuck. And like I say, if you go on the Easy Wood site, they are currently out of stock at the factory. I don't know about other retailers. We've got 4 of them, and we get you. There are no back orders. You can't back order on this if you try, because I don't know how long they're going to be out of them. Same with the California Air pressure pots. You cannot back them, or I've got it closed out, because it can take months and months, right, Bonnie, to get your pressure pots. And Dick, if Dick is still in here, he knows we brought in pressure pots last fall, and they sell really well, and it seems like it goes in big runs. Late last summer, we started carrying them, and we were moving through them, 6 and 10 at a time, until we ran out, and they ran out. And it took 3 months to get the next batch in. And what we have is left over from being on the road with the woodworking shows. So we've got 6 of them left, and that's we had a whole bunch. We went to the last show that got canceled with a dozen of them. So we've got the last 6, and I don't know when they'll be available again. So right now, when those 6 are gone, I'm not taking any back order, because I don't want to have people waiting forever. It's just a bad way to go. So if you want to get into a pot today, it's a great way to go. It's a great price. So that's my cheat sheet. Let me look. I got a few other little notes here, and I hate to try and look down to read, so I'm going to fold this over and try and kind of hold it up a little bit so I don't look so bad. I'm trying to learn how to be on TV. Just so you know, like the resin tints, resin. Excuse me, I got my notes here. A quart of resin, the quart kit, is $49.95 normally. A pint kit is regularly $29.95. The stabilizing resin is $87.97. Spin gems, which I haven't talked about. Spin gems are right here. These made a huge run thanks to Zach Higgins at NV Woodworks. Zach did some casting. I sent Zach a bunch of these. I don't know, sometime last year, and he did a pour with them about 10 days ago now, maybe 12, and his folks who follow Zach, and he does great live streams, cleaned Spiracraft out and cleaned out Chroma-Craft. We've got everything they've got. They actually are working today. They're over there at the plant, and they usually only work Monday through Thursday. They're a four-day plant. They're there Friday. They were there today. They're there today, hoping to get us more spin gems. The spin gems, and they're really cool. Let me reach over here or walk around here. If you haven't seen them, once you get into them, you'll think you've died and gone to heaven for your inlay. So it's a faux stone, if you will, and they come in 2 styles. They come in a blended style, and I've gone to the overhead, and I don't know if you can see. The light looks a little strange. You can see the different colors in there. So this one happens to be called Gold Mine, and you'll see it's a blend of different colors and different sizes of grits and stones. And we cast this right into the resin, and it's fantastic. It looks just like a stone. Now this is a blended gem that I have here, and I'm going to show you what they refer to as a mixed. And this is just a straight yellow, right? And that's pretty bright looking yellow right there. And I'll get a different one to give you another look that's not quite so bright. The mixed is, it's all the same color, but they're mixed sizes of powder, okay? So let me run over here real quick and grab another color that's not quite so bright to show you. I'll go with red oxide. There again, there's about 15 colors in the spin gems. So hopefully you can see here, it's real fine powder. That's why it's called mixed, and you get the same mix in the blendeds, but they're also blended with all the different colors. Dick's asking, do I carry the powders that change depending on the angle of the light, the red, blue, purple, green? That's an iridescent, and you're talking about color shifts. Our iridescents will shift some. We do have a glitter that we'll be bringing out that is a color shift. That's actually in this film, Dick, that's in this piece. It kind of color shifts. But if you're actually talking about the full color shift, and I forgot that I was not on the overhead there. We do not have ones that will completely color shift to a different color right now in the powders, but the iridescent pearlescents will get pretty close to that. Grab one from it and give it a try. Look for the ones that are iridescent pearlescents, and I'll show you one here real quick. What's kind of interesting about those is that they are white. All I can do is find one. So, and I'll go overhead. This is iridescent purple, but it looks white, but you can see the purple. It needs a color to bounce off of. So some people refer to that as an interference color powder. Okay. Jerry, I'm giving you too many ideas. That's the idea, Jerry. I'm supposed to give you lots of ideas so you get more goodies. So the spin gems, just because they're really hot right now, we're behind on spin gems. If it comes up as a back order, because they're 10% off today, if it comes up as a back order, they are coming. Monday I'm going to put in another order. I put in an order last week to fill the back orders from the week before. The turquoise, if you're waiting for turquoise, if anybody happens to be here who's waiting for turquoise, they are making two shades of blue turquoise and a green turquoise now, and they are running a whole fresh new batch because we cleaned them out, and they have to formulate it. They mix up the resin. It's actually a polyester polymer resin. They have to mix it, pour it, let it cure, and then they put it in the grinding machines and do all the grinding to it. So it's about a week and a half process to actually make a batch of the spin gems. So it takes a little while, but they are coming, gang. And so if you want to get in on the deal, I know it might be a little bit of a wait. We have some of the colors in, not a ton. We are pretty low, straight up with you. We're pretty low right now, but we got more coming on Monday or Tuesday, and then more again as soon as they get them out to us. Glitters are. I wanted to also say the glitters are. The resin tint is $6.25 per. Stabilizing resin I said was $87.97. These are the regular prices. Glitters that I haven't shown you are $4.95 for a little jar. The pearl powders are $5.95, and all these things are items that go and you mix them into your resin. Jump that over here. Mix them into your resin to make all these different effects. So like in this piece, and I'm going to go overhead, you can look. This hasn't been sanded, it's got some lacquer on it. You'll see some, and I don't know if you can see these glitter. If this the iridescent glitter that I'm talking about, and it actually changes colors depending on the angle. Okay, I don't have any pearl in that one. I don't have any pearl in any of these, actually, to be quite honest, now that I look at them. And all my other samples are in the house or in the office there. But the pearl powders, the glitter, which I didn't show you, let me go to the overhead and I'll pull up the glitter for you. They have a great assortment of glitters. Again, 15, 18 colors. This is yellow gold. They have 3 golds. They've got gold, light gold, dark gold, yellow gold. Their glitter, one of the things about the Chroma-Craft glitter that I like so much, this is not Hobby Lobby or craft store glitter. The film that they make their glitter, all glitter is made out of a film. And their film is colored all the way through. So that when they grind it into the different sizes, and then you cast it, and then you turn it and you cut it, with a cheap glitter, you'll see, say, clear in the middle. You'll have a color on either side. Their glitter is colored all the way through, so you don't lose the effect. It works really, really well. Super fine. And the pearl powders, I had, I'm going to show you this again. Had a taxidermist with me out on the road, and their pearl powders are so much finer than most of what they get. She gets from the taxidermy supply people. She was really impressed with that. So pearl powders, spin gems, resin tints. We got all kinds of goodies on special today. Easy wood tools, gallons of resin, casting resin, vacuum chambers, lots of good stuff. Let's see, what time is it? 1:49. All right, I'm going to do a little bit of turn-in for you. So this is a piece that came from one of these blanks. Okay. Now, we work with the stainless steel bottle stopper company. And these are their brass inserts. And they also go with our, forgot to mention these, the Keyring Kit, which is what this is. We've came up with a hand sanitizer Keyring Kit, and I'll show you here. Gary, great to hear that. You just let me know what you need. The hand sanitizer is with this in the resin. You put the inserts in. Oh, I was going the wrong way when I'm upside down. So it takes this brass insert, which I'll also show you by outside of it, to take the thread. The resin doesn't hold the thread really well. So we put these whole kits together, and I'm going to stay in the overhead here and kind of reach. I'm going to walk around so you don't have to see me reach through. It's terribly impolite to reach through. And I'm just going to kind of lay this stuff up on the counter here. Okay. We put together a hand sanitizer Keyring Kit. So I'm going to kind of pull all the goodies out. And they start, a basic one for a wood that doesn't need a resin is $11.95. And for a resin kit with the brass inserts, it's like $13.95. And what you get is, let me figure the best way to show you this. I'm going to go back to the overhead. Someday I'll have a producer. 2 security loops, 2 stainless steel decorative loops, if you will. So if it's a wood kit, you get the basic kit. For wood, you get 2 stainless steel loops, the 2 security loops, and the bottle. Okay. If you're already making bottle stoppers, or if you're a pen turner, you may have the mandrels that you need. If you don't, we have a basic kit, and we have an advanced kit, which gets you which brings in a mandrel, which I'll show you in a second. And we have an advanced or expert kit, which also has a live center mandrel. So this would be a wood kit. Now, if I add the 2 knurled brass inserts that are threaded, that becomes a resin kit, so that you can make, just like I've got going here, piece, and you insert and epoxy or CA glue in the brass inserts. Okay. Now I'm going to go back overhead here. Set this stuff off. And the way this works is you take the loop. Might be easy. It might look fumbly. Like I said, this is unpracticed, unscripted. I just fly. Take the loop, loop it through. Go back over, just a girth hitch. That goes around your bottle. And if I had put it on in the right direction, it will hang. Let me change that around. Going the right way. then it will hang. I've got them in my vehicles, and I've heard recently you're not supposed to keep sanitizer in your vehicle. But so the bottle hangs on one end, the other loop can go in the top and hang in your car, or you can put your key ring through the top loop here, to the top of the decorative loop. Put that on your key ring right there, and you always have a bottle. Now this one I made, this right here is a pretty long one. I was actually kind of making it to have like a handle to it, if you will. So we've got these kits all put together. And if you don't have any of the stuff, well then the second, that's the basic kit, the expert kit, I can't remember which name, if it goes to expert or advanced. Advanced kit, if it's a wood kit, you get, let me go overhead. You get a stubby drill bit for drilling, and if it's resin kit, you get a 1/2-inch Freud Forstner bit that comes with the kit. Okay. If you do not have a mandrel, we have both 1/8 and 1 1/4/8. And so that's what I've got here, but you can't quite see it. So these are turned to fit mandrels. So it goes right on your lathe. If you have the resin kit, it threads onto the barrel, onto the brass barrel. If you're doing a wood kit, this is a self-tapping thread. It will cut the threads after you've drilled the hole. It will cut the threads on its own. So you don't need to have another tap. The mandrel is the tap. And then once you have the piece tapped or inside, and I'll go back overhead here. See how many things I can have in my hand at one time. I can see that I'm going to need to move. I've got the headstock over out of the way just a little bit, so it's not in my way. Hang on just a sec. Now you get the idea. So now we're ready to go. You bring your tailstock up to the other end. Okay. In the top kit, the expert kit, we also have a live center mandrel. Excuse the cough. So with the live center mandrel, same thing. It's got the same self-tapping thread if you had wood. Okay. And then we bring up our tailstock, which goes right in the cone. And now we're between centers. I'm not a pen turner, but just like we were turning pens. So that completely holds the whole system for you. And that's what we're going to do here next. Although I'm not going to use that one because that's a brand new one, and I've got another one right over here. So all these goodies that I brought out, it all goes to work with resin casting and wood stabilizing. That's why I focused on all these different items today, because they all work together as different projects. Put this guy back in here. So we have this in 1/8 and 1 1/4/8. Put that back over there. Put some of this stuff down because it's time to do a little turning. Okay. So I'm going to show you all the different things. So this was turned earlier. It's one of these blanks, like I said, made from pecan root burl. Tighten that up. I'll thread in my mandrel, my live center mandrel, to hold it here from the other end. Bring up my tailstock. And we are now ready to turn. Hey, also, look at this. I finally, for those of you who hang out with me a lot, I finally put a coat of black paint on my banjo so you can see contrast below it. All right. All right, so we're set there. Need a tool rest. Everything around here rusts so fast. So again, the piece that you're looking at that I'm about to turn was a root burr that looked just like that. All right. So first thing I did was I dried that out in the oven, and you can see some of the stabilizing resin that came out of the bottom of it. I dried it in the oven, then I submerged it in the vacuum chamber, in the stabilizing resin inside the vacuum chamber, pulled vacuum on it until it was saturated, took it out of the vacuum chamber, put it back in the same oven, and cooked it at 190, 200 degrees till the resin had cured. Then I took the piece of all the burl, and I put them into a big mold. Used like a meatloaf pan, if you will. Put all the burls in the mold, mixed up my epoxy resin, added the colorants. I used, in this particular case, I used turquoise and white. Poured it into the mold. Gary, so far, what I have found from, especially like with Zach, I learned a lot from Zach. I met Zach a couple years ago. You can stabilize just about anything. Vegetables, I mean, if it will dry and it's porous, you can stabilize it. There hasn't been any limit that we've found or seen. So yes, you can stabilize any root. The biggest thing about stabilizing is it needs to be dry. The wood needs to be dry. If it's got moisture in it, even 6 or 8%, it won't take all the air out. It just affects it. The resin won't get in there, and it will give you trouble. So that's why everybody dries it. You need to dry it in an oven. But if you get it dry, and optimally 0%, but it might be kind of hard to do. The technique for knowing that it's dry enough is you put it in your oven, and you have an electric scale, an ounce scale, gram scale, a little digital scale, and you start checking the weight. And when it quits losing weight and it hasn't lost any weight after another couple of hours, then that's as dry as it's going to get. If you're real concerned about humidity, you take it out of the oven, let it cool in a Ziplock bag so it doesn't reabsorb any moisture. Then you drop it into the stabilizing resin and pull the vacuum on it, and off you go. So yeah, you can stabilize anything that you can get in there. I don't know what the limits are. Someday we might find out. In my extra time, that's why I'm aging all this wood out here, because it makes for such beautiful stuff. I know I have another piece here. I'm going to jump to the overhead because I want to root the piece out here real quick if I can find it. I had this piece laying around here. Here it is. Oh. And to spin gems. Oh, I found all kinds of goodies. I dig around enough, I'll find all kinds of stuff. So I'm on overhead. This was a piece of maple, and it spalted, and the bugs ate it. And when I turned it, it was so soft, you could literally pull chunks out of it. And so I turned it very gently on the lathe to about an inch thick or so, maybe an inch and a half thick. And I know that's kind of tight on the frame there. To about an inch and a half thick. Then I dried it in the oven. And go from here. Put it in the oven, let it dry. Dropped it into a vacuum chamber. Took a bigger one. Submerged it, pulled the vacuum on it, sucked the resin into it. And it's a really cool piece. Sucked the resin in, put it back in the oven, cured it, then turned it to this stage. So you can. That's why I love this kind of stuff. It's really fun, and again, it's a beautiful piece of wood. And I'm not done with it yet. I'm going to actually put some resin on it and fill the holes with resin. So I will cast this piece again. I will get a plastic bowl for a mold that fits, where this isn't too much bigger than the piece, and another plastic bowl to go inside here, and I will fill all these holes with resin, and then I'll turn it again, and then I'll have all the holes filled. So that's kind of the effect that I go for there. Spin gems. I just saw this over there. So looks just like a stone. When I cast out on the road for the woodworking shows, I do a big cast. So I did a little bit of paint. This is just the excess resin. Had a little bit of paint. This is part of the granite. Really, Zach loves the granite. We have sold out the granite. I mean, we sold a ton of it. It's so fun. Again, to give you a perspective, that's how big this piece is. Okay? It's just a little guy. It's just made out of a hard-boiled egg mold. A silicone hard-boiled egg mold. You don't use a lot of resin. Give you an idea. Drop it. You don't have to use a lot of resin. I don't know what that looks like against the wall there. You probably can't hardly see it. You don't have to use a lot of resin to have a lot of fun. So resin, it might seem expensive at $125 a gallon or $50 a quart, but it goes a long way for your different projects. Really fun stuff to work with, and when I saw that, I wanted to show you the spin gems. Okay? All right, back to the overhead here. And I'm going to do a little. Now, I'm not going to finish this piece. I'm just going to get you to. I want to show you how this process works. I might spray some lacquer on it. I might just do. Who knows? We'll see. Let me get the tools here ready. I did bring myself some fresh cutters because I was getting a little dull. So I'm going to do a little cutter changing, and while I'm doing that, I'll field questions. I want to change two cutters. I want to put on a CI3 and a CI5, and I don't know why I thought I brought a square, but I didn't. So I'm going to change a couple tools. And Michael, how you doing? You wish you lived on our side of the border? I have an intermittent sound noise like the pocket connection, my dad says. Yeah, I cleaned it all out. Again, I can't hear it, so let me stand the mic transmitter back up. Do the spin gems handle line resin? I want to use them in some knife handles. Handle line resin. Gary, I'm not sure what line resin is, but they were talking about it the other day. Making knife scales. Oh, like. Yeah, they work in any resin at all. So this is my CI3, and I didn't bring my other jacket out. Oh, I could be in trouble, gang. I may not be changing cutters after all. Let me change the camera because my wrench was in my other jacket, the one that I get dirty in all the time. And if I don't have my wrench, I always lose the little easy wood wrench. I keep it in my pocket in my jacket so I won't lose it. And I don't see one squirreled away in here at the moment. So I'll just use the tools as they are, it looks like. I'm gonna look one more place real quick. Nope. Okay. Never mind the cutter changing. We're just gonna use them like they are. My bad. We'll be using a couple different tools. I wanted to use that size is all. And I wanted to have some fresh ones. But that's all good. You're having the same audio issues. Yeah, I'm going to reach in here. It might be making all kinds of noise while I'm doing this. I know it did it to me the other day. And I may have to switch over. I do have a new one of these in the box. I've been trying to keep it for non-dusty environments. I know it's coming from right here where the mic connects. And I'm going to, how can I turn off the sound? I can't really for a moment. Hang on just a second. I'm going to do something here real quick. I don't know if that will take care of it or not. I hope it does. Again, all this dust is horrible on the electronics. And like I said, I have a brand new one of these transmitters, but they're $400. So I'm trying to keep it out of the dust, because the dust is what this does to it. I may have to get some cleaner. That's better. Good. Hopefully it'll last, Dad. And I apologize to everybody for having the crackles there. I listen to it. See, I don't hear me because of the echoes. Okay. So we've got our stabilized wood in here that we stabilized in the chambers. Our resin. We are ready to turn this with an easy wood cutter. Again, I'm not going to get into deep detail on education, because I'm here to help you find the right product so that you can do this, because it really is fun and it doesn't take a lot of space. You can do all this on a mini lathe. You don't even have to have a big full-size lathe if you're doing smaller work. It's pretty cool. I'm going to get my face shield on here real quick. And we'll see how that looks for you. Okay. Take her up around 1,000. So with this Mandrel system that you can get in the Keyring kits, and the Mandrels are also available separately. Don't let me give you a false information that you have to get the Keyring kit. The Mandrels, if you just want to make your own kind of things, the Mandrels, we have them on the website. They'll be in the Keyring kit section. But you can turn, and there's a little plastic washer right there so you won't hit the metal. Okay. And you turn right down to that size, and you're good to go. So what I tend to do, and I haven't done a ton of these, but what I tend to be doing is I turn the ends first, and then I decide what I want to do in the middle. And you can see how easily these negative rate cutters cut the resin. If I had a standard cutter, or if I'd have to keep my high-speed steel tools, which will work, but I would have to sharpen them often. The carbide lasts a whole lot longer. So both my ends now are essentially at the right diameter. Okay. Then I'll just do whatever I want to in between. I had this idea the other day. When I did this one, which I'm going to, oh, it's got a bottle attached to it. When I did this one the other day, I did kind of the whippy shape, and then I thought afterwards, well, I think I want to make one hourglass and get smaller in the middle. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do with this one today. So it's going to be smaller in the center than the ends. And the stabilizing resin itself is quite hard. So once the wood is stabilized, it's really hard on the tools as well. But the carbide does a great job. Alright, let's stop and take a look and see what we got going on in here. Now, like I say, if you're in the market for any of these goodies, remember that the specials that I read off, and I'll read them again at the bottom of the hour at 2:30, only happen while we're out here. Once I end this live stream, I will turn off the code, and all the extra giveaways will be gone. Funny how that works, isn't it? So this looks pretty cool. Now I have to be careful of the barrel. I have to remember that I have that brass insert in there, so I don't want to taper too soon, or I'll hit my brass or have the brass start to show. Now resin is pretty strong by itself. I've made some really thin pieces with just resin. I haven't done it with a piece of burl like this. I don't know how strong it is. I would think that as long as I don't do anything crazy, it should be fine. I'm so happy that I painted that black so you can finally see. Let's see how that's looking again. Okay, that's looking really cool. That's looking really nice. I know that when I walk in the house, Bridget is going to want this one. Bridget, if you're watching, this one can be yours if you want it. You just got to say the word. It's funny. I love it when I come in and Bridget will watch it and she's, mine, that's mine, that's mine. You know, where are we going to put all these things, honey? I'm happy to give her any of the stuff I make. I like that. I'm glad I did this. Now here's one thing that why I did lacquer the other day on the other piece. Right there, right in front of my finger, is a little pockmark way down inside that burl that didn't get any stabilizing resin in it, and this is important. I think I'll stop right there. The stabilizing resin will not fill voids, large areas. It's more on the cellular level. Don't think of it as it's going to fill all the pockets inside. So if your burl happens to have a pocket, and that's big enough that I could stick my ice pick in it. So I'll show you here again. I can put the tip of the ice pick in that little void right there. So if I was to sand this smooth and go after it with abrasive paste right now, all I would do is fill that void with the abrasive paste, and then I wouldn't be able to fix it. So I need to fill that with something, be it the lacquer itself. You could fill it with CA glue if you're into CA glue finishes, all those kind of things. I'm a fan of lacquer a lot of times. Now that one's fairly good size, so that probably would do well to. I'm going to stick my head down here just a little bit. Well, so you won't see. I just was afraid I was going to stick it in the camera, so I can get close. I can't see that far away anymore. Okay, so just for fun, I'm not going to even sand this thing right now. I'm going to put a little bit of CA glue in that hole, and then I'm going to spread some around as a CA finish. So let me just let you see that while I jump over here and get some CA glue. And I know it's kind of hard to see. I'm afraid to get the camera too much closer, it'll go out of focus. My mom wants one. Sure, Mom, not a problem. Anytime. Anytime. Get over here, get myself a paper towel. Also, just because we're actually talking about products today, Chroma-Craft does carry the Star Bond CA glue. We've got thin, medium, thick, and medium black, and accelerator in the store. This is also a product that is not allowed to be discounted price-wise. We can't print a discounted price or anything like that. But if you go through the store, it's going to pop up. If you go to Starbond, we have it all. We've got it in stock, and you will save some money on Starbond. We've got the accelerator in the 6-ounce, and I think it's a 10 or 12-ounce can, and clear in thin, medium, and thick, and black medium. Gary says, any recommendations on the Spin Gem single colors? I'm already getting some of the blended products. The single colors. Well, everybody's favorite is the turquoise. And the turquoise you see there, I think, is the blue turquoise. I do not have a sample of the green turquoise right now. And I'm going to start filling this while I talk. Suggestions on the colors. And another thing with the singles, the mixed, you can mix those colors together yourself and make your own varieties as well, or variations. So don't think that you're stuck to using just that single color. All right, I'm going to let that soak in there for a little bit before I hit it with the accelerator. I'm trying to think of all the different colors off the top of my head because there's so many. The fire, I like the bright colors personally. I'm gonna let that CA just sit there for a minute. I like the bright colors, the fire red, the fire engine red, I think it's called, or fire red. The amethyst is beautiful. The blues, there's a marine blue and a medium blue, both real nice blues. If you want a bright yellow, the yellow is bright. There's some subtle colors, the terracottas, smoke, which is kind of a gray. There's a black. There's a cream, white, a bright white, and there's a cream that's kind of a off-white kind of thing. Gosh, I don't know them all on the top of my head, and I don't have the whole list in front of me. The colors on I'll give you this hint or helpful part, Gary. The colors on the website are pretty close to what you'll see in the actual gem itself. Again, I don't have a lot of the colors out here with me. There's a purple also. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I didn't bring too many of the colors because I'm actually kind of low in there, or they're in the house. So let's take off this excess right there and see if it's got a bubble in it or not. I'm going to go to the overhead for you. So I want to try. I don't want it to build up around it too much. Okay, so I'm gonna hit that. Again, I have not done a lot of CA finish fill work. I'm not a CA glue kind of crack filler guy. Now my dad, on the other hand, he's all about filling cracks with CA glue, aren't you, Dad? I'm just gonna kind of dab that excess up. Hit that again. And I don't see any others in here. Again, I haven't sanded this at all. It won't bother me to turn this away after the fact. You're quite welcome. You'll love both the amethyst, Gary, and the turquoise. They're both fantastic colors. And if you check back with me, they haven't given me the code yet for the new turquoise color. So I'm just going to wipe this CA on here and rub it in. I should have a glove on. Let me go grab a glove here real quick. I don't want to glue myself together. I know I don't normally wear gloves, but I see an accident just in the making of my own doing. And we don't want that to happen. Now, do we? All right, so I want to do something. I know you probably think I'm crazy, and I am. I am crazy. I'm going to take because I've never tried this before, so I'm just going to try it. And I don't know what'll happen. I'm thinking about putting a little bit of glitter right into this CA finish. I could be the biggest mistake I've ever made, which wouldn't be the first time. And I don't know if it'll even stick when I do this. I'm going to load my paper towel. And I've got the accelerator on there, so this coat may not work. I may have to wait for another one. I just want to see something. I love to experiment in front of a live audience, because if you're anything like me and you got ideas and you want to try them, there's only one way to try them. And that's to go for it. There's a little bit of glitter in this already, the iridescent glitters. And I think that may have flashed it. I don't think it's going to stick like I wanted it to. But it would be cool to have this glitter highlight. That's a little bit more. So I'm getting a little bit to stick. Let me try another method here. This is new ground for me. This might work better. So the idea being to put it in the, build it up in the finish. Build the glitter up in the finish. I'm going to have glitter all over me because it's in the breeze here in the wind. Okay. Don't ever drop a bottle of glitter. And they talk about man glitter. Well, when I go to the fast food restaurant after being out here, or the Mexican restaurant, I have my glitter on, but it's real glitter. We're kind of clearing that out on its own there. All right, back to the overhead. Oh, that's 4. We don't want to do that. I may have lost my background. No, hopefully not. Now I want this to stay in there, and then I'm going to put another coat on. Another layer of CA. And hope that my glitter stays in place. It looks like it's kind of knocking it off a little bit, but I think some of it will stay. All right, and we're going to hit that real quick. And then I'll do one more coat on it, and then we'll go on back to talking about the different products and covering any kind of ground there. This is how all these work together and come together. All the different components come together to make a piece, be it something this small or something elaborate like this egg. This can be also quite an elaborate way to go. Lots of different things you can do with all this. All right, one more coat of CA on here real quick. I'm going to get a good load of coat on here. And this one I'm going to put on and let it churn after I get it on there. So I did get that glitter. Now it's not real smooth because it need to be sanded and all that, and you might even need to build up some more coats and whatnot. But that's pretty cool. And we'll help that along a little bit, and we'll let that set. Okay, let's see here. So the clock says 2:27, about 2:30. I'm covered in glitter. I'm having a great time. Got just a little bit of dirt on me today, not too bad. A little bit of glitter on me. Again, the stabilizing process for whatever kind of wood that you might want to use, that you want to work with, to take a piece of wood that otherwise is is not turnable, or even if you have a nice fresh burl, burls are full of holes as well, and very airy, and so you stabilize those with the stabilizing resin. So we dry them up, get them good and dry, put them into your choice of size and configuration of stabilizing chamber. Fill that with the stabilizing resin. Pull the hook up the vacuum pump. Again, good old vacuum pump is here. Vacuum pump. The hose is comes in the right there. In the vacuum chambers, it comes with the hose, and the hose attaches right to the vacuum pump. These things work great. Do a real good job. You pull your vacuum until it doesn't bubble anymore. Hey, Anthony, it's okay. It's okay to be late as long as you made it. How are you doing today, sir? It's good to see you. I've done everything a little bit here today, but I'm going over all the goodies again. I'm sweating like crazy, but I got my fan going. We were talking about the stabilizing. So we're stabilizing chambers with the vacuum pump, stabilizing resin. That stabilizes our wood. Then we can cast the wood into a blank like this. And you don't need a fancy mold. Again, I use cups. This was just done in a tray. You can buy fancy molds. It's there's all kinds of. I mean, you can keep on going to the moon with this kind of project. All the different colors of the pearl powders and the resin tints. So just in the 6-pack, and I can't remember. I think we've got 15 tints. You get an idea of all the colors that you can tint the resin, and you can see the turquoise here. Wherever it's not super strong, because I got a little bit of the white showing. You can see the turquoise match right there. This one matches even better. You see the turquoise match. Okay, so, and you can mix the colorants. You can mix and match the resin tint colorants in the resin, so you can have it in any shades you can dream up. Is available to you. And the tints are concentrates, so it doesn't take much. They go a long way. Just a couple of drops will get you where you need to be usually. The dark, like the black, is very strong. So if you use black, use it sparingly and add more. The lighter colors, the whites, the yellows, depending on what you want to do, you can make it anywhere from translucent with just a drop or two to opaque with a few more drops. The resin is a long open time. The Chroma-Craft epoxy resin, again, it's a 2-part resin. It's 2-to-1 is the mixing ratio. Is by volume, not by weight. So it's easy to mix. You don't need to worry about how many grams. Did you get your grams right? And is your scale battery dead? I use yogurt cups and different cups or metered cups as well. 2-to-1, super easy to do. One of the best things you can recommend about mixing resins, I just was talking with the owner of Chroma-Craft the other day when I was there. I've been over there a couple times with all the spin gem sales we've been having. Is one of the best things I can recommend to you about mixing resin is after you've poured off your ratios and you mix it all together in a cup. Mix in that cup, mix it really, really well. Scrape down the sides. Mix it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes until you're satisfied, and you want to make sure that it's uniform. There's not any swirls or anything like that in it. And then the best thing you can do is take and pour all that into another container of, say, the same size, and then mix it again. That way you know that you're not going to have any contamination from an unmixed portion of that first jar, everything you've poured over, and then you mix that second pour over. So you're going to be sure that you get a really good blend of your resin. So you won't have any pockets of unmixed resin. Because nothing is more aggravating than finding out you've got this piece of really neat wood and you worked hard, or you found it and it's really special, and you didn't quite mix your resin right, and it doesn't cure. Now the epoxy resin, if it's got the hardener in the vicinity of it, it will eventually cure. But if your mix is way off, it could take a long time. And if you didn't get any hardener to it at all, it might not. But usually it will. It just takes a long, long time. So the best thing you can do is double pour it, if you will. Mix it once in the original container, pour that off into another similar container, and mix it again. Now, again, the beauty of the Chroma-Craft epoxy with the 2-hour open time is you can do that, and you can work with it and have it open. You don't have to rush to get it in the pressure pot like a fast-setting 7 or 15-minute resin. And I'm not sure where my my thermometer is here. I have a digital infrared thermometer, and that's what I use, sorry for me looking around, to take the temperature of the resin. So when I mix the resin, if say I'm mixing just a single color of the Chroma-Craft resin, I'll go ahead and mold it, and just the more time in the pressure pot under pressure, the more likely it is to get rid of all my air bubbles. If I want to have real distinct colors in my mix, real distinct lines between purple and white or whatever colors I might be working with, then I'll wait till the resin actually starts to set up, and I'll use an infrared thermometer. They keep taking the temperature of the resin until it's about 105, 110, somewhere around there. And that's pretty close to the 2-hour mark when it gets there. And then I'll pour into my mold. And those colors won't blend together because they'll start to set pretty quick. So that way I get good delineation between my colors at an elevated temperature, but I had plenty of time to get there. I love working with it out on the road because, again, I do a live demonstration for hour and a half, not here 2 hours today, but I do an hour and a half demonstration, and I can mix the resin at the beginning of the demonstration and not worry about it setting up, and I can explain, and we can add different colors and powders and pigments and all that to it, and then when I get to the end, I can go ahead and mix it. We put it in the pressure pot, put the air to it, and then pull it out the next day and return it for the class. Let me zoom in on this guy here again and let you see how that's doing. That is set up now. That's ready to be sanded a little bit, and then sand it real fine and do the polish. Now I'd like to. I think I'm just going to take it off of there. I don't want to try and zoom the camera in, so I think I'll just take this off and hold it up close so that you can see it. So again, the Mandrels are part of the Keyring Kit that we talked about. So let's assume, after I show you this, the camera's on manual focus, so it doesn't go out of focus when it's spinning. So that's the look I really wanted, was the wood kind of floating in the ocean of resin, if you will. Okay, and so with the brass inserts in there, excuse me, going the wrong way, the decorative loops. And Anthony, have you made yours? I know you got the kits. How'd that work out for you? Have you used them? Tell me how that went. I'd love to hear about it. And there's your ends, and then you tighten them right up, and you can put a little spot of CA glue on there if you want to, and then you'd put your decorative loop in there. This is the big one. I just grabbed one just to show you. Girth hitch that, and then that either, and I'll go, oh, I'm out front. I'm sorry. I was thinking I was overhead. So that can hang on whatever, and you put the other one on the bottom, put your bottle in there, just like this one, and you're good to go. So they're real fun. Again, made with the resins. The spin gem, you could cast these up with, you could cast the spin gems into an event like this. You're just getting your lathe fired up. So you've still been working on the electricity issue, trying to get yourself running. Well, I'd go crazy if I had my stuff and I didn't have power yet. I'd be running cords out across the yard or whatever I had to do from the dryer to get it hooked up. I'm going to take this tool rest out of my way here. Again, the stabilizing resin is $87 a gallon before the discounts today. It's got a 3-year shelf life if it's stored above 85 degrees, or below 85 degrees, excuse me. So it lasts a long time. Couple of years on your epoxy resin. The more any of the products, the more you open and expose the air to it, the more likely they are to start to age. Hey, Maria. Nice to see you. Thank you for dropping in. Appreciate it. Hope you're having a good day. The more you open and close a container, the more times you expose oxygen to your storage. So if it doesn't hurt if you have, say you buy a gallon kit, because it's less expensive by the per ounce by the gallon. When you first get it, if you've got some pint or quart jars, break that thing down when you get it, so that you're not always opening your whole container to the open air. Break it down into smaller containers if you do small portions. If you're doing big pours where you're mixing a whole bunch, well, then that's not an issue. But it's much more economical to get a bigger quantity and break it down yourself into good sealed plastic containers. Don't use glass. Excuse my cough. Put them in plastic with a good lid that seals up real well, and it'll last you a long time. And you can just keep working and working and working with it. Again, you add in the different powders, the pearls, the spin gems, lots of different things that you can do. The only limit is your creativity to what kind of project you can come up with. The stabilizing resin is soap and water cleanup, so I don't ever empty my stabilizing chamber next door. I just keep using it over and over. But you can, a lot of people will pour it back in the jug. If they're not going to use it right away. I kind of always got something going over it, it seems like. But you can just wash it with soap and water, and you're all good until the next time you're ready to use it. So it doesn't take any harsh chemicals to clean it up or anything like that. The first one, and I don't have one showing here, the first one I got, because I like to do bigger things, is a 5-gallon one, and it's next door. Because I want the bigger, and there are bigger ones now, there's 10 and 15 gallons. But to do the bigger bowls, I wanted to be able to get a 12-inch bowl inside a stabilizing chamber. And so with the 5-inch, or with the 5-gallon one, it's 11 and 15 sixteenths, give or take. So I can squeak it past the inlet nozzle there and virtually get a 12-inch bowl inside that thing, and then stabilize it. So I can have these big pieces that I'm aging out here to make some nice, really big pieces. Again, that piece that I've got here, this was a smaller one that was stabilized, and like I said, it's solid. It's full of holes. It's full of holes now, but it is rock solid. I'm not going to throw this on the floor. There we go, and try and break it. But this is all holy and worm eaten, and this was just so soft and rotten, and now it's essentially wood infused, or resin infused wood, if you will, however you want to put it, and quite turnable with the carbide tools. So using the easy wood tools with the negative rate cutters, you can turn this really easily, and so you can have these really strange pieces. And you can't get some of this, the mold and the growth, the fungus growth, you can't get these patterns. This is nature. We're doing its best job. And the worms, they get in there. Organic, it's kind of interesting how, at least in what I'm doing here, is I'm combining modern chemical technology with the most organic form possible. It's headed back to its original form of decay into the earth, if you will. And yet we can make a beautiful piece of art out of it. So that's why I really have fun with these things. I love doing this stuff. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here talking to you today and making the products available for folks. Because I really like to see people get into it, and they have fun once they get started. Everybody has a great time. It's not real expensive to get into. If you've got your lathe, again, you don't have to have a big lathe. A mini lathe will work just fine for the smaller projects. Today's mini lathes, are 12 inches. That used to be a standard lathe a long time ago. So, a mini lathe, you get you $600-800 for a nice one. If you go to the green stores, meaning the tools that are green, you can get in there for a whole lot less. I don't encourage to buy the lower end, but if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. Again, if you're in the small apartments, etc., things like that, you don't have a lot of room. Little mini lathes are great. You put them up on the bench top. You do your work, you put them away when you need the bench. If you have the luxury of having room for a big one, then it's great. It's a real good deal. So I'm curious if there's any kind of questions. Oh, hell, you're laughing at my green comment. Well, that way I don't have to name brand names, Anthony, you know what I'm saying? I don't have to talk about that one store that I admit that I go to, but I don't want to say. The one that I buy things without moving parts. And there's another higher end green stores as well, but it's all good. It's all good. It really is. So I've been having a great time out here today, and it looks like it's about quarter till. So, you know, if you're thinking about any of these goodies, remember that this coupon is going to expire when I turn off the stream today. I'm going to go to the computer and turn off that coupon. So if you're interested again, sorry about the cough. I'm going to get myself a sip of water here. And I'll kind of run down through the deals in case you happen to be on the fence about anything at all. Just to let you know, with the code that you see on the screen there, the cast, that's 10% off in anything in the store, not just what I'm showing out here today, but anything in the Spirocraft store. That'll get you 10% off of this. If something you've been thinking about for your woodworking or wood turning, especially hobby that we have in the store, this is a great time. You've got about 30 minutes left before that special ends. A gallon and a half of the Chroma-Craft resin is normally $124. Today it's $112. If you get a gallon of the resin, I'll toss in 3 red, blue, and yellow resin tints just on the house, and that's worth $18. The California Air 5-gallon pressure pot, which I showed earlier, and I'll show it again because it's been a while since I pulled it out. Here's the lid. It comes with the gauge, pressure gauge, the outlet, pressure relief valve, all the fittings, the regulator. This is the top. It's ready to go. The hose is my own addition. It does not come with the hose. I added the hose myself. Show you some of the fittings again. I'm zoomed in pretty close there for that now. Okay. That's the top of it. It's really heavy. There's the 5-gallon portion of it. Real heavy duty. It's on wheels. You roll it right around. So those, today they're normally they're $269. There's only 6 of them that we have, and I think Spirocraft right now is probably the only place in the country. Can't guarantee that. But people have been coming to us and saying, hey, we can't find them anywhere else. Do you really have them in stock? It says you do. Yes, we do, or we did. I don't know what's going on. If they sell out today on there, it'll go to out of stock, and it won't let you back order because California Air is going to be back ordered for some time. So we're not letting any back orders take place on that. So if you're interested in a pressure pot, it comes out to $242 today with the discounts, and we add in on us a pint and a half kit of epoxy resin, Chroma-Craft epoxy resin. It's worth $29. So there's an additional $30 savings right there, right off the top. If you get a pressure pot and a gallon of resin, I'll add in a 6-pack of the resin tints, just right along with it, just right off the top. It's on us. That's worth about $33.50. Pressure pot and a vacuum chamber, your choice of vacuum chamber. So I can't tell you what the total price would be because they're different. They range from about $120 to $220, somewhere in there. We'll add in a 6-pack of resin and a pint kit, or a 6-pack of resin tin and a pint of resin. A pressure pot, a vacuum chamber, and a vacuum pump. Best Value Vax vacuum pump, made in the USA, by the way. I didn't mention that earlier. That's the complete setup. A vacuum chamber, a vacuum pump, a pressure pot. We will toss in a 1.5 quart of Chroma-Craft epoxy resin, a 6-pack of resin tint, and 6 of the Pearlescent powders. So you'll be set. You'll have pressure pot, vacuum chamber, vacuum pump, resin tint, pearl powders. You can start. You'll have everything you need. The only thing you would need would be a compressor, an air compressor to pressurize your pressure pot. Also today, because of this, everything's on sale in the store for another 12 minutes, it looks like. If you've been thinking about getting an Easy Wood chuck, the chucks are part of the 10% discount today. I don't know what we got now. We had a 1 inch, and we had 3 inch and a quarters. They're regularly $4.29. Today they'd be $3.86 during our special here today. And just so you know, a regular quarter resin normally retail is $49.45 every day. A pint is $29.95. The stabilizing resin is $87. Spin gems are $9.95 and $10.95. The resin tint individuals are $6 1/4. Little jars of glitter, same like here. Little jars of glitter are $4.95, 15, 18 colors of glitter. And same with the pearl powders, about 15, 16 colors there, and they're $5.95. So all that's 10% off in store as well. So all your resin and stabilizing needs are covered. Jump over here. The Keyring kits. Anthony, what's the difference between a glass vac and the stabilizing chamber? So I'm going to say, Anthony, you're asking the difference between this glass vac here, which has the glass top, and the PVC chamber. So the PVC chamber is made out of PVC. You notice it's not they're only 6 inches in diameter. Whereas the glass vac we have here has, get all these goodies off of here, has the very thick glass top with the silicone seal. So this glass top won't get degraded. The plastics the bigger plastics will bow and break over time. And apparently, I'm not sure what this special plastic is for that doesn't degrade. But the resins, some of the resins can eat the plastic lids or start getting onto the lid, whereas this glass is impermeable. And it's amazingly durable, because I cringed, I don't know how many times out at the woodworking shows, people would drop this lid from the counters. They would pick up the whole pot, not knowing that the lid wasn't attached. It's just sitting there. And I don't know how many times I saw a lid fly off onto a concrete floor and not break. And I would just cringe, because I was like, oh my gosh, there goes the lid. Never did, and it never broke one. Real good. The keyring kits. A basic kit for making a keyring out of wood, which gets you the loops, the stainless steel decorative loops, or the stainless steel decorative loop, and the urethane security loops. It's $11.95, and the basic resin, which includes the brass inserts, is $13.95 if you've got the other goodies. If not, we have the Mandrels for 1 inch or inch and a quarter or inch, and the Live Center Mandrels. They're all on the website. As you go up in the different kits, we have a basic, an advanced, and an expert. It also adds the drill bits that you need, either a Forstner bit for the resin style keyring kits, or a twist bit. And it's a little stubby guy, so it doesn't flex. These are all American made. Good stuff. I don't have the flag on the screen today in the background, but I think everything here, the resin, the stabilizing resin, is made in the UK. And then the advanced kit and the expert kit, in the keyring kits, comes along with the mandrel that fits your lathe, either inch and a quarter. So all those goodies, it all lends itself to wood stabilizing and resin casting. Fantastic hobby, part of your wood turning world, if you will. I know I have a ton of fun with it. Been doing the resin work now for, when did I start? I don't know, probably 2 years ago maybe. When I first met with the Chroma-Craft folks, they kind of brought me in, and I went over and met with them in the conference room, and I saw all the swirly resin work, and I said, yes, where do I sign? I'm happy to be involved. And I've been having fun ever since, working with the resin and all the good things that you can do with it. So it's a lot of fun. The other thing that I'd like to always mention is that, with Spirocraft, you get me on the other end of the phone, compared to, say, the Amazons of the world. If you get a product and you have a question, you give me a call. I'm going to answer the phone. You send me an email. You'll talk to somebody who actually uses the products all the time. These are fresh out of the box, because my other ones are full of resin next door. But you know, everything you see here is product that I use, you know, daily around here. It's good stuff. I really enjoy it. And I'm looking for questions. Dad says, need to give an extra 15 minutes on the time limit for watching. Well, Dad, since it's you that's asking, I can do that. I can give an extra 15 minutes. So I can find something to do. I can always keep myself occupied out here. Absolutely. Let me, I'm going to do something real quick here, though. Since I haven't gone over to the computers in a while, I'm going to go show you this pretty bowl in the overhead. And I'm going to switch cameras. And Coff as well. And make sure that everything is working in here on the computer world. Everything looks pretty good. I finally got things working in my streams where they seem to be pretty consistent. It's quite the challenging project to do a live stream by yourself with a green screen chroma key event background going on. We've got some special things coming that I haven't talked about yet, and that's all I'm going to do is tease you about it. You'll see. Something I've been wanting to do and working on for a long time. It's all coming together. Indeed it is. I've got all these electronics, all this crazy stuff. It really is a fun. Out at the woodworking shows, those of you who have met with me at the shows or seen what I do out there, I bring this kind of electronics out there to the woodworking shows for my educational demonstrations there. Last year I cut it back a little bit just because of the Chroma-Craft retail booth takes so much energy. But in the past, I've had all this light bar that's over my head and camera bar with 4 cameras running and all the lights and the audio system. And recorded. I've been recording my demonstrations out there for years. I have 11 demonstrations a weekend, 13 to 18 times a year, times about 4 years worth of recording. I have a whole lot of different classes that I did over the years in the can, and we could be sharing those with you before too terribly long. I have a lot of fun with this stuff. It's a little, the stabilizing portion of the projects, if you will, I was just like anybody else. Don't think that I just knew it all instantly, and I still don't know it all. Nobody ever does. I'm still learning stuff all the time. The stabilizing is probably one of the bigger mysteries, I think, that we run into. It's just not, it's not common, or you don't think about how does that really work, and it's confusing between, do I need to stabilize something? Do I need a vacuum chamber or a pressure pot? What does which? And if you've just come in or you don't know, the vacuum chambers take a piece of wood. Again, here's my nasty stuff. Like I say, this piece of rotten wood, and I'll show you it again in the overhead. This thing is full of holes and it's super soft and punky. I mean, you can see how brittle this is. So this literally just falls apart. See it flaking off? Well, we can saturate that with resin, i.e. the stabilizing resin. We saturate this piece of wood with the stabilizing resin. That becomes hard, very, very hard, and quite turnable. And so you get the beautiful texture and the colors and the patterns that are going on in a piece of wood like this. And again, this is just scraps. Hey, there's my wife. I was wondering if you were ever going to pop up there, huh? All these little scraps of wood, these have just been laying out in the rain and aging, and the bugs have been eating them. And I'm going to cut these up into little teeny pieces, stabilize them put them in the stabilizing chamber. With the vacuum chamber with the stabilizing resin, pull the vacuum on them, pull all the air out, put it into the oven that I dried them in. I dried them at about 200 degrees for a couple of hours to get them dry, because it does have to be dry for your stabilizing resin to work. Pop them into the vacuum chamber, pull the resin into them until there's no more bubbles come out, back into the oven at 200 degrees to cure that resin, and then just like we did in this piece here. This is little, these are just the turning, there we go. The turning chips coming off of turning a bowl. So I dyed those, then I stabilized them, and then I mixed them up with the resin when I cast it. And again, this utilizes the stainless steel bottle stoppers, which we do have, we just don't happen to have in the store. I've actually got 2 websites, and we're building a new one. But this brass insert, which is what's in the Keyring kits, the brass inserts are available in the store on their own. You don't have to get anything else. We have them by the package. I think they're in a 6-pack. They allow you to drill with a 1/2-inch Forstner bit into anything and put that in. And then if you already got bottle stoppers with the 3/8 thread to it, or you want to do some of our Keyring hand sanitizer kits, you're good to go. Yes, this one, honey, is actually nice and smooth. It does look like glass. That's a lacquer finish. I do tend to do lacquer a lot. So Maria says, do you dry them first, then stabilize? Yes. So you want to make sure, like if I walked over here, imagine this. How is it possible that it's easy for me to get a handful of chips, right? Well, in this place, it's not too hard. So here's a bunch of wood chips. I would want to take these, and I just put them in a pan, like a baking sheet. Now, I've got a toaster oven over in the shop next door, and I'm going to put in a full-size oven. But just take your chips, and with that piece that I was showing you, I actually took these chips that were dry, just laying around, excuse me, about the cough. And I put them, and I'm going to reach over here and show you. I'm just going to reach over out of the camera shot for a second. You guys have been with me. If you've been with me this long, it's all good. And I put them into a Dunkin' Donuts cup. Thank you, Bridget. Poured in aniline dye. This happens to be clear, but you get the idea. Bottle of aniline dye, right? Mixed it up, stirred them, soaked them for a week or so in the aniline dye till the dye had completely penetrated all the swirls. And the chips are so small, it doesn't take that much, but I wanted to be sure. Then I dried them in the oven again to make sure they were completely dry. Then I put them into the stabilizing resin. Put a screen in and pressed them all down and pulled the air out in the vacuum chamber. Put them back into the oven again. These are, it's a little bit of a longer process. And stabilized them so that they were, the color was stabilized in, and they didn't bring any air into the mix. So the biggest reason, so if you look at this piece, let me go back to the overhead here, so maybe you can understand. See all these fuzzy edges that are right along in here? No, never mind the dirt on my finger. So that's all going to hold air when it goes into the resin. That's going to hold molecules of air. And so the more that we can stabilize it, the less air it's going to hold, okay? So we want to have that nice and solid, as solid as we can get it. Now, the stabilizing resin will not fill in the voids along the jaggedy edge, but it does give you an idea of how porous the wood can be. Because when we go to cast it, after we've stabilized it and cooked it, then it's ready to mix into the resin. And if we want to make sure we bring in as little air into the resin as possible, that's what allows it to not bubble when it gets cast. So there's no bubbles in this. And this one came out really, really well. I'm going to go overhead on this again. Between the colors of the resin, I used yellow and blue, which actually got me a green with the yellow highlights. And then the wood, and I wish you could see this in person. I'm going the wrong way. Because you can see the wood grain super clearly, when you look at it really close. And then I've got iridescent, a mixture of glitters in here. And so some of the sparkles that you see are actually one of the glitters, okay? So there's a lot of different things that you can add to add interest and value to your piece. And so these wood chips, well, when we're turning a bowl, we're making the wood chips as a byproduct, right? And so again, and I know my dad's here, in true fashion, and I am my father's son, the scraps become something that we can work with. and it makes something that's really pretty and really neat to look at. So it works really well. You can utilize all these things that you might otherwise have thrown away. And again, with the resins, when you start playing with the color tints, the resin tints, there is no limit to what you can do with the colors. If you can dream it up and mix it, you can make it. And it never comes out the same twice, which is, I like that. It's what makes things unique. There's never exactly the same twice, which is wonderful. Each one is unique and individual, and you made it. So that's a wonderful thing. And it's not difficult. It's not difficult at all. Doesn't really, everything I need to make any of these pieces is sitting right here in front of me or right back there in the pressure pot or the colors. It doesn't take that much equipment to really get going. And it doesn't take a lot of space. I'm in a little teeny studio here. I think my film studio is 12 by 14, something like that. And it's jammed. And I do whatever I want to out here. And if I had a mini lathe and just a real teeny small room, a lot of people, apartment dweller styles in the big cities, you can do all this. The epoxy resins is another good thing. Epoxy resin doesn't have a strong odor. Polyester resins, they're really nasty to turn, they're brittle and they chip, and they stink to high heaven. You don't want to be working with polyester resin. You need to leave the room or do it outside. It's going to be super ventilated. You should always have good ventilation regardless, but the epoxy resins are not strong at all. They're not noxious to you. So they're easy to work with. Same thing with the stabilizing resin. It doesn't have any kind of strong odors, easy to work with. The epoxy is not flammable. That's one of the other beauties. We can ship it air. So it's not a flammable product. And this is water-based, so it's not flammable either, the stabilizing resin. So they are actually fairly eco-friendly when you really get right down to it. The spin gems are a polyester polymer. The pearl powders are synthetic mica. So they're synthetic. It's the same mica that's in your makeup, ladies. It's just not. It may not be FDA approved, but it is craft approved. There is a difference. Don't ask me what it is. But the micas give you all the pearls and the swirls, and in the iridescent, they can be fantastic as well. So lots of different things that we can do here. Let's see how this is drying up. This was the one that I put the glitter into, and now it'll need a few more coats and to be sanded. I'll go overhead again on that and try and to give you a close-up of. Again, the finish is rough now because I had a paper towel using CA glue, but it doesn't take a whole lot to make pieces. And so the resin, if you're into the jewelry work, there's lots of different things you can do with these resins and the woods. It doesn't have to be turned as it doesn't have to be a classic wood turning project. It can be any kind of project that you'd like to cast. Like I've got over here when I first got going, and I've got them and I use them. Silicone molds, you can get them. They're inexpensive. I can make a perfect sphere without even having to turn it. There's a sphere mold, got a hole in the top. I'll show you this in the overhead. We don't carry these yet. Tape that together, fill it up with resin. You have a perfect sphere. Lots and lots of fun. There's really no limit. And again, I use the Dunkin' Donut cups from my wife Bridget there. She brings me these by the tens monthly. Yogurt cups. I don't have a big investment in my mold issues, my mold work. Dunkin' Donut cups, yogurt cups, cottage cheese cups or containers for my stir and my mixing. I do have graduated cups too, as far as meter cups. But you don't have to. If you're just doing it casually, you don't have to get a lot of crazy molding stuff. You do need a mold release, which I didn't even talk about today. We do not carry one right now, but we will. This is Smooth On brand. I've got a couple different ones around. A mold release is sprayed inside if this was my mold, if I was going to pour resin into this cup, I would just spray this first, let it dry, and then my resin is not going to stick to it. And now, if you're wondering why I keep going on and on about Dunkin' Donut cups, I'm going to show you right now. Dunkin' Donuts and some of the other restaurant delis, I don't know if I'm trying to find the right thing so you can see this. It has a natural tenon. So you get a dovetail tenon for if you have dovetail jaws on your chuck, you get a natural dovetail. So when you cast your piece, after you've had your iced coffee, cast your piece, slice it with a razor knife, peel it off, you've got your tenon already made. It just goes right into, especially with the Easy Wood chuck, it goes into the 2 3/8 inch jaws perfectly. Just grabs it. You don't have to turn a tenon. You're ready to go. It comes, you take the cup away, and boom, it comes out. Let me grab one here. I think I got another one laying around over here. It's ready to go. I know it's green, so it probably looks crazy, goofy on the screen. But if my chuck was in place, that would just go right into the jaws of the chuck, right out of the mold. Look familiar? That's what it came from, just like that. So it works out great. I was experimenting with, it didn't work. Live fresh cut flowers to see what would happen in resin. It didn't work. It's there, but it turned brown. It's not bright and colorful anymore, like it had been. So dried flowers. I don't know if Mary Alice is still in here or not. Mary Alice is out in California. She drops in on Monday Methods a lot, does a lot of beautiful turning work. She was asking me if the epoxy would burn the dried flowers. And I said, well, I don't have any dried ones, but I'm going to go pick some live ones and see what happens. And so it doesn't work with the live ones, Mary Alice, but I think you do that. Not much you can't drop in there. And I don't remember, where's my scroller? Somebody was asking me earlier, as I fumble for my device. Let's see. Supposed to be scrolling my screen here for me. I got my little devicey here that, I lost it altogether. Now I'm in trouble. I can't see my I lost my chat box at the end of the day here. I was trying to scroll back up. Anyway, what I was going to say is you can stabilize just about anything. Just about anything. So what I'm going to do, because it's, even though it's 310 and we said we'd stay to 315, I'm going to jump back over there and turn on my my chat back on real quick, since I hit the wrong button on that remote controller. And just so that I have it, it won't take me but 2 or 3 seconds, I hope, or 10. It should come back pretty quick. Just in case, I don't want to miss any last question. I can't believe I hit the wrong button. Well, yeah, I can. I can believe I hit the wrong button. Just like me to do that. But I don't want to miss any questions here at the end of our session. So pop it back up. And I'm just going to, this is me talking out there. I know I'm not supposed to be typing. I'll just say, I'm back. To make sure that it pops up on my screen. There we go. Okay, so now I have a reference point back into the chat box, because I have a special chat that I can see for people when in all the comment columns from the Facebook pages and YouTube, which is where we're at. We're on a couple of Facebook pages and a YouTube, the Spyro-Craft YouTube page, and also any of the Monday methods that Spyro-Craft has done that I've done out here, you can find on our YouTube channel. I think I've got about 40, I want to say maybe 40 videos up there now, working out here and doing different projects, and I'll always be putting more on. Facebook is a great platform. They do look better on YouTube, because YouTube they're at 1080, full high resolution, whereas on Facebook they stay at 720. It's not quite as high a resolution. Yeah. So anything that you want to see from the past or in the future, go to the Spyro-Craft on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and you'll get the notification. Make sure you click the little notification, be notified button, and then every time we pop up another video, you'll get a notification and you'll be able to check it out. We have lots more to add to our YouTube channel, and there will be content going there that's not going to be on Facebook. So I encourage you to, like a lot of folks, join our YouTube channel and keep up with what we're up to. So it's 3:12, and since my father requested the extra 15 minutes, we'll wait till 3:15, and then we're gonna wrap this up. So if you have any questions, pop them in there. Are there any jewelry kits for the glass-like resin? Well, honey, yes, there are indeed glass resin jewelry kits for resin. So we can investigate that. That's something we've been thinking about. I say the we, collective of Spydercraft, there's more to Spydercraft than what you see here. We've been thinking about things like that for the future. So yes, indeed, you can make your own jewelry, hun, and all I have to do is get the silicone molds, and we have all the rest of the goodies, so you can make your own jewelry with the resins, with the colorants, with the tints, with the pearl powders, with the spin gems, lots of different things that you can do. There is resin jewelry world is a very large market and following. A lot of people into it, and it's really cool. You can make your own jewelry and all that good stuff. Well, I am just about ready. There is some ice cream that is waiting for me, not too terribly far away. I do hope everybody who came today enjoyed it. I hope you picked up and got some supplies that you need and took advantage of the specials we had today. I appreciate everybody's time who did come here. It's been enjoyable for me. It's not super hot as long as I don't move and I got the fan going. It's been a very pleasant day. I've had fun. I hope you enjoyed the little bit of turning that I did. We'll be back here again on Monday at 10 a.m. for Monday Methods, where I'm back to educational format, and I'll be back in the black jacket. Also, I even forgot to mention the Spydercraft turning jackets. They're in the store. We have red with black sleeves, red bodies, black sleeves, and black bodies with red sleeves. They fit great. They run large, so get a small one. Smaller. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you coming and hanging out. I'm sorry I'm not going to see you in SWAT in Waco. As you know, Waco's gone. Anthony, thank you. Appreciate all your support. It's always nice to see you pop in. So everybody, thank you very much. It's 3:15. We're going to shut her down and call it a day. We will see you on Monday. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and stay safe. See ya.